Hello everyone and welcome back to News to the Science, where we discuss comics, movies, games, and more, and to another spectacular Marvel Spider-Man 2 video. My name is Ronnie and today we're going to be discussing my top 5 DLC picks for Marvel Spider-Man 2. Honestly, this is probably going to be the most difficult top 5 video I've ever made, and I figured I'd keep it top 5 only because DLCs are usually short, and honestly, I couldn't come up with the top 10 reasonable DLC ideas for the sequel, and let me know if you all can come up with at least top 10 DLC ideas for Marvel Spider-Man 2. Remember, this is just my opinion. If you agree or disagree with my top 5 DLC story ideas, comment down below. I'd like to get a conversation going. It's always fun to engage with you all in the comment section, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click on that bell notification so you can stay up to date with the latest in Spidey content and more superhero related content. I'm only about 300 subscribers away from 4K. It really helps out the channel and means a lot if you subscribe. With all of that being said, let's get started with number 5. Morbius the Living Vampire DLC. In Marvel Spider-Man, we're introduced to Morgan Michaels, who is a supporting character in Marvel Spider-Man. He's one of the scientists who helped develop the GR27, or Devil's Breath, as it's nicknamed in the game. In the game, little is known about Morgan Michaels. According to a file found in Osborn's apartment, Michaels has been the Osborn family doctor for decades, as he was responsible for prescribing experimental treatments for Emily Osborn back in 1997. As some of you in the comment section for my top 10 villains we need in Marvel Spider-Man 2 already know, Morgan Michaels is an alias for Michael Morbius, the living vampire in the comics. Morbius' first appearance was in Amazing Spider-Man number 101. Can you imagine a DLC where you're tracking down Morbius by simply finding bodies lying about and creating a path to Morbius' location? That would be dark, but it's definitely suited as DLC material. Spider-Man notes that Michaels looks unhealthy, appearing pale, thin, and having dark circles in his eyes. Could this possibly lead to Morgan Michaels becoming the living vampire we all know? Number 4. Kraven the Hunter DLC. I know a few of you already suggested Kraven the Hunter in my top 10 villains that should appear in Marvel Spider-Man 2 video. Even some of you suggested he should be in a DLC. This is starting to sound like a bonus top 5 villains that should appear in Marvel Spider-Man 2, but hear me out. Kraven can lay out traps in the DLC, kind of like how Taskmaster did in the first Marvel Spider-Man game, but we never really spent so much time with Taskmaster, which left a bit to be desired. But having Kraven as a DLC character, we can get to know this version of Kraven, fight him, learn about the traps he lays out in the open Big Apple. If you agree that Kraven the Hunter should be saved for DLC, let me know in the comment section below. Number 3. Spider Island DLC. This one might be a bit of a stretch, and to allow the main story to flow properly and not be distracted by something so elaborate as the story of Spider Island, it should totally be saved for a possible DLC story. Spider Island is a limited series one-shot that ran back in 2011. The main plot of that story involves the citizens of Manhattan Island mysteriously manifesting powers very similar to Spider-Man. This story received really positive reviews, and I think it'd be a fun way for Insomniac to play around with the idea of Spider-Man one-shot stories, kind of like how Marvel Comics and Marvel Studios does. Something like Spider Island should be a DLC on its own because of how detailed the story is and the amount of supporting characters it contains. Unless Insomniac Games wants to give it its own spin, Spider Island is a perfect contender for DLC. Number 2. How about a DLC involving both Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales? Now, I wouldn't really know what would be the main plot of the DLC involving these two Spider-Men, but it'd be a cool idea to have a DLC that requires both Spider-Man to complete. Maybe have a patrol DLC, help the citizens of New York more often, solve some crime. I don't know, something like that along the lines. Something involving both Spider-Man in a DLC would be an amazing idea. Do you all think a DLC featuring both Spider-Man is a good idea? Perhaps assuming that the Venom symbiote was manifested and we fought the symbiote already post-game, and the DLC involves the symbiote with both Spider-Man and Miles Morales Spider-Man, maybe we can see perhaps Miles Morales take on the symbiote and have him have his own black suit. So something like that would be an amazing idea for a DLC. A very short story post-game, assuming the symbiote is the main plot of the sequel. So it's probably going to be looking to be that way anyways. And judging from the fact that Miles Morales is returning for the sequel, I think he might be more involved in the sequel's DLC. You let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see involving those two Spider-Men. Number 1. Introduce the Beetle. So I just had the craziest idea. It took me quite a bit some time to think about this one, only because the Beetle has had different people wear the armor throughout the years. Instead of having Abner Jenkins to appear as the Beetle, why not have Janice Lincoln's Beetle appear in the DLC? The Beetle can play a big part of the DLC by having her show up to hunt down Spider-Man. For those of you who aren't familiar with this version of the Beetle, Janice Lincoln is the daughter of the notorious crime boss Lonnie Lincoln, aka Tombstone. We all had our chance to go toe-to-toe with Tombstone in the first Marvel Spider-Man game, but introducing his daughter would be icing on the cake, wouldn't you agree? Like Tombstone, Janice Lincoln as a child looked up to her father and his criminal ways, and always wanted to follow her father in his footsteps, but was denied to take part in them. As an adult, she became a very successful defense attorney, so a good storyline involving Janice Lincoln's Beetle would be Spider-Man trying to convince Janice that the path she wants to live by is the wrong path. Beetle is a firm believer in her father and his ways, and she's too stubborn to listen to Spider-Man. I think adding a very underrated villain such as the Beetle would be an excellent choice, and she's the perfect character for the sequel's DLC. And those are my top 5 DLC picks for Marvel Spider-Man 2. Do you have any DLC ideas you'd like to share? Can you even think of 5 to 10 DLC ideas you'd like to see come to fruition in the sequel? You comment down below with your best DLC ideas. I like to read your comments. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click on bell notifications so you all don't miss anything. Join my Discord. The invitation link to that is in the description box below, and I will see you all in the next comic panel.